that thing that you're most afraid of is actually the thing that is going to be your ticket to the bank. Let me tell you something, I know what I'm talking about. I went from being an undocumented immigrant, like scared to just like the fear of God in me about visibility. I went from that to somebody who has worked and spoken at some of the most elite stages across the world. I'm talking about Georgetown University. I'm talking about places like University of Hong Kong. I'm talking about places like the BBC. I could go on, Mastercard, Unilever, and not only that, I'm talking about real money to the bank. I'm talking about 5 figures, like high 5 figures, that is paid. That's just a payday for one speaking gig. So how did I go from somebody who was invisible and wanted to stay in the shadows, right? Because I was undocumented, to somebody who not only embraced the spotlight, but somebody who understood that my story could be something that could turn into a payday. I want to share in this video some of the things that I did, and not only do I want to share some of the things that I did, I want to share with you why you might want to change your mind about working on your visibility. Let me take it back, okay? So I was an undocumented immigrant in the United States, and it feels especially important for me to stand with my full chest out and 10 toes down and tell you the story of how somebody like me was an undocumented immigrant because of what's going on in the United States. Let me be really clear, like my politics, I am not somebody who shies away from what I believe in, and I truly believe in a country that is stolen property. Nobody has the right to tell somebody that they are an illegal alien, okay? Those are my politics. But let's put the politics, just for a moment, let's put the politics in the background, and let me walk you through how I became somebody who was an undocumented immigrant and went all the way to speaking on these big stages. You ready to speak like a boss? Let's get into your most powerful story, because your story matters. Let me take it back, okay? So I was an undocumented immigrant in the United States, and it feels especially important for me to stand with my full chest out and 10 toes down and tell you the story of how somebody like me was an undocumented immigrant because of what's going on in the United States. Let me be really clear, like my politics, I'm not somebody who shies away from what I believe in, and I truly believe in a country that is stolen property. Nobody has the right to tell somebody that they are an illegal alien, okay? Those are my politics. But let's put the politics, just for a moment, let's put the politics in the background, and let me walk you through how I became somebody who was an undocumented immigrant and went all the way to speaking on these big stages. Intellectual property, okay? Intellectual property. My story begins in places like Philadelphia. Philadelphia is not the first place where I stayed in the United States, but it's a really important place for me in the United States. I absolutely, if you're from Philly, shout out, okay? Your girl loves Philly, your girl loves North Philly, West Philly, like all of the places. That's my place, right? And I remember so many times when I was in Philadelphia working multiple jobs. I mean, I really was that typical immigrant who is doing everything to get ahead and working so damn hard, and also feeling like the spotlight cannot be on me because I'm not documented, and I'm doing my best. Like, I'm somebody who is very much law abiding. I'm somebody who came to the United States really for economic reasons, and also because I wanted to pursue my education. Fast forward to long story short, many years, I actually did get the education that I came to the United States for. What did that look like? That looked like hustling my little tail off, okay? Legally, I was able to take care of my papers, and I got into some of the most prestigious schools in the United States. I went to NYU. I went to the Iowa Writers Workshop, which is in Iowa, like slap bang in the heartland of America. And all of this education, all the educations, it really helped me to be able to create and craft my intellectual property. Intellectual property, what does that mean? We're coming back to that word again. It means I wrote a book. It means I am a published author. And when you are a published author, it's not only about having a book, a name at the spine of a book. It is really about getting your big ideas out into the world. It could look for you like having an article that's published. It could look for you like researching and writing a report. Honestly, honey, it could even be a podcast. The point is, the big ideas that you have here, you need to get those out in a way where they are trademarked, where they're copyrighted and protected as your intellectual property, and where people understand this is somebody who stands for big ideas. So I got my story out through this book, and because I had a book, because I had intellectual property out in the market, I became somebody who curators for events actually seek out. So a lot of these opportunities to speak on stages, they ended up being inbound. It's not stuff that I was reaching out to people to ask them like, hey, can you please come and get me, da 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 da. And that's what I want more than anything else for you. What I'm asking you to consider, what visibility is standing in the way of between you and your fear of being seen and your fear of being vulnerable in public by opening your mouth and speaking, the thing that you stand to gain isn't just money, okay? And like I said, there's some really nice paydays that come with being a public speaker. The thing that is standing between you and your fear, what your fear is getting in between you and like this thing is your business could grow maybe like 10x quicker if you became a more visible founder. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you're somebody who is pursuing venture capital, you should know that venture capitalists look for founders who have personal brands of their own, who have some visibility. Why? Because it drives clients to actually buy your product faster. Why? Because they trust you, right? And when you're a small company, so maybe you're not a company that is pursuing venture capital, this matters even more because you're not backed by huge dollars that come with venture capital. When you are a small company, the trust that consumers place in your product, often that trust has everything to do with you as a human being. They feel like they know you, they feel like you're their friend. Do you ever wonder why these influencers are starting a lot of really successful brands and they sell out almost immediately just because they're got a following and they drop something and now suddenly everybody needs to have this latest thing that Kim Kardashian dropped or whichever one is your favorite influencer? I'm not advocating for any one particular influencer. All I'm saying is pay attention to the pattern. And it's not just the high profile influencers, it is also very much happening in VC. It is a shortcut to people trusting you. And for venture capitalists, it's also a shortcut to those VCs believing that you have quicker access and more streamlined access to media. And when you have streamlined access to media, that's free marketing for your product, for whatever it is that you're working on. So again, if you're a solo entrepreneur and people know that this is the person who is the chosen one in the industry, you're making it easier for your products to get in front of both decision makers as well as potential partners and definitely your clients, right? If you as the founder become more visible. If you don't believe me on this, that's cool, okay? All I'm gonna ask you to do is just do your homework, start paying attention and see if you recognize a pattern between the entrepreneurs who tend to close deals a whole lot faster in VC, the ones whose funding is fast-tracked, the ones who are quoted by media more often than not, right? Your name is not appearing, I'm sorry, in the New York Times, is not being quoted. Their names are being quoted and they are attracting talent as well, much faster than you're able to attract talent. Why? Visibility. And whatever fear you have of being seen, I'm telling you now, your fear, unless you're an undocumented immigrant, and dreamers have showed us what courage looks like for undocumented immigrants to stand up with their chest out and to really fight for what is theirs. Unless you're in that particular position, and I understand and I absolutely respect why those people sometimes are reticent for the limelight. If you're not in that position and you're running a business and you have something that needs to be in the public eye, we need to know about it. I'm not sure why you're not working on your visibility. And one of the best ways that you can work on your visibility is definitely getting your intellectual property out there. So think about, are you writing articles? Are you on stages, right? Because what you speak when you're on a stage, that's part of your intellectual property. Are you writing a book? And if you need support around these things, that's exactly what your girl does, okay? I've been there, done that. I understand what it means to put a book together. I've been to one of the most rigorous writing schools, not just in the country, but in the world. And that's the level of precision and depth that I bring to working with you one-on-one on your thought leadership. I want you to underline and underscore that word, because that's the thing that VCs are looking for when they're looking to the next big person in their portfolio that they're going to call not just a superstar, but somebody that they actually invest dollars in. I want that person to be you. And listen, not everybody's on the VC track. If you're a solo entrepreneur, this counts. This is just as important, maybe even more important. Like I said earlier, you're not backed by these huge dollars. So understanding and also being really clear as a solo entrepreneur about how can I get there in the most efficient way possible where I'm not wasting all of my time. That is the kind of work that I could do with you as a coach. And I not only bring the technical skills of how do you become a thought leader, right? Like I said, we need to work on your intellectual property, but I also bring the sensitivity of what it taught me all of those years when I was living in the shadows. You know, I have to tell you, my heart and where I am right now with everything that's happening, the protests that are so righteous, the people who are in the streets and demanding protection, by the way, not just for immigrants, but for United States citizens who are being disappeared out of the United States and just being like, by like people being picked up off the streets, right? My heart bleeds for that work so much. And I want so much to pour into you what I know is the depth of what it means to be an immigrant. It does mean working hard. It does mean understanding the power of the light, because you have been denied the light, right? You have been forced into the shadows. But let me tell you, my friend, it also means the integrity of being true to the things that are the most beautiful about America and what America promises all of us. And those big ideas are part of what your thought leadership is. It might feel like, what's all this got to do with me? I'm just trying to get my company to move ahead. Yes, we want that. Yes, we want a fat paycheck for you, for your team, for your entire company. But guess what thought leadership does that nothing else can? Your visibility, creating a platform for yourself, and creating thought leadership through, like I said, books and speaking on stages and getting out there and getting your name quoted in the press. That also creates an opportunity for you to actually drive culture. And that, my friend, is a game changer. That is something that makes it possible for you to live your values out loud and to make sure that your values are represented in the country where you live beyond even our generation. If that is the kind of work that you're interested in doing, I am your girl. I have all of my details in the show notes below. I would love to hear from you. Let me know in comments if you've ever been like myself, somebody who has shied away from the limelight. And I'm curious what your reason might have been for having to shy away from the limelight. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting immigrants, and thank you for understanding that the most beautiful thing that a country like United States has to be proud of and to celebrate is the wild, beautiful, tapestry of diversity of all of these people and all the yummy food that we bring. Hello, and all of the like crazy good music and all of the different perspectives that we bring. That is the strength. Thank you again, and I hope to see you in our next video. Was that useful? You want to go even deeper? I'd love to support you. My coaching program can help you make money and spark action whenever you speak with intention. Book time to chat using the link in the description box below. Also, leave a comment if this video offered something you needed to hear today, or if you have a question you want me to unpack in next week's episode. Fresh episodes drop every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Hit subscribe to get a notification so you never miss a beat. Thank you so much for being here. I want you to know that your story matters. And I'm here to help you stand out from the stage to the page.